Hi everyone, today I have a beginner-friendly gouache tutorial. When I think back to what I could paint as a beginner, it was lots of palm tree silhouettes because they were always fun and easy to do, so that's what we'll be painting today. I have here some paper that I've just taped down to my desk with masking tape. I'm reusing the masking tape as I like to use both edges before I throw it out so I get the most out of it. Here I have my flat palette. I have 2 jars of water, a cloth or a tea towel for drying your brushes off on, and these brushes which I'll link down below. And I'll be using Winsor Newton Art Spectrum gouache today, and I'm only going to be using the 3 primaries and black and white. Before I jump into the tutorial, I just want to let you guys know that I just published my first Skillshare class. It's a beginner's guide to gouache class and it covers all of the basics of gouache. It's the kind of class that I would have liked to have taken as a beginner because I structured it to address all of the mistakes and the frustrations that I had as a beginner. So I go through a lot of the basic techniques like control of water, understanding water to gouache ratio, and the different techniques you can use like dry brushing or doing thin washes. And at the very end there is a real-time painting tutorial of this seascape where you can paint along with me and put into practice all of the techniques taught in the class. So I hope you'll go and check it out. If you don't have Skillshare, I'll have a link in my description for a 2-week free trial so you can try out the class. And if you do get to try it, I would love to hear any feedback on it, so feel free to let me know your thoughts. Back to the tutorial, I'm just using a pencil to do a really quick sketch just to mark in a few lines. I'll have the reference photo linked down below. And then I just placed the primaries and white on my palette. I also forgot to mention you might want to have a spray bottle on hand just to mist your paints to stop them from drying out. So I start off by mixing the color of the sky, so I'm just mixing the primary blue with white, and then I added some black to my palette because I just wanted to grey out the blue a little, so I added a tiny bit of black. Don't add too much or else that might overpower it and just turn it into grey, so you can just add a little bit of black into it. And then I'm going to start painting the sky, and as I move down I just keep adding white paint. If you feel like your paint isn't spreading, you can just adjust the consistency of your paint by adding more water and then adding more paint as you need to, so that you're maintaining that same level of opacity. And I continue to just lighten the paint with white and just paint a smooth transition. Now I want to wash off my brush so that I can pick up some white with a clean brush and just start to fade out that blue at the bottom. So I'm trying to fade it into white, and then I wash off my brush again and I go into the primary red and I mix it with the blue, and I'm just putting in a few purple accents in the sky. And to help me blend it out, I switched to my round brush and I just used the clean round brush first to try and blend it out a bit, and then I painted in some more of the purple. And then switching back to my flat brush, I'm continuing to blend in more white. Then I move to the bottom and I start painting in the yellow, so I'm just mixing white with yellow and I start to place that in at the bottom. And there's also a bit of orange there from the sunset, so I mix in a bit of the primary red to get this really nice warm orange, and I place in a little bit just below that. And you can see I'm turning my brush on its side so that I can get some really flat thin strokes. And then I also place in a bit more orange and I mix in a bit more yellow and a bit more of the red, and just mix in some of those sunset colors and place that in there. I switched back to my round brush again just so I can get a bit more precision, and then I need to mix a purple, so again just using the primary red and mixing it into that blue mixture from before, and I just dull down the purple a bit with a little bit of black, and I start to paint in those purple clouds. After the sky is finished, I use black paint to block in the bottom. I leave the path out as we'll come back and work on that later. And after I block it out, I let the paint dry because I need to go in and paint the palm trees after, and I'll need to rest my hand on the paper so I don't want to accidentally place my hand on wet paint. And while I wait for it to dry, I don't want my paints to dry out on my palette, so I use my spray bottle and just quickly give my paints a bit of a mist so that they stay fresh while the paint is drying. I start by placing in where all the palm trees go, and to make it look a bit more realistic, I use the tip of my brush to paint in these little bumps on the tree trunk just so that it's not a straight line, since if you have a closer look at the palm tree you can see there's these little ridges along the edges. So I just do that, and then I just quickly place in where they all go, and after that we can start painting in the leaves. For the leaves, I want to be extra precise, so I switched to my liner brush. Using a liner brush is really great for this kind of work because it can hold a decent amount of paint and water, so I don't have to go back to my palette a lot to pick up more paint. Now to paint the leaves, it's quite simple. All I do is just mark out the lines where they go, and then to paint in the leaves I just use the natural motion of my wrist, and I just do these really quick strokes. And once you paint a few of these palm trees, you realize that it's really all the same, and you don't even need to look at a reference photo to help you paint it. It's really quite simple, and you can't go too wrong with painting them, which is why I really like to paint them as a beginner, because it's easy to make them look realistic and they just look really nice against a sunset background or something. So that's why I thought this would be great for a beginner friendly tutorial. One thing you want to keep in mind to make them look even more realistic is to have a sense of perspective. So as the palm trees get further away, they should get shorter and smaller. And later I also paint in some really small palm trees just to show how much distance and depth there is in this scene. Lastly, for the path, I start by just fixing up the shape of the path, and then I mix a purple mixture just using white and some of the purple from before, so it's quite a grayish purple mixture, and I simply just block in that path and I just keep it nice and simple. When it comes to removing the tape, you can use a hairdryer to help you apply some heat, so it's easier to take off the tape without it tearing the pages. This is something that I do quite often when I find that the tape is starting to tear the paper, and it's also good to peel away from your painting just in case it does tear anything. Thank you guys for watching this tutorial, and I hope you liked it. And again, if you want to check out my Skillshare class, you can just click the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.